If you are hearing these words, my dear, you are not here by accident. There are moments in life when something finds us at exactly the right time, and I think this may be one of those moments for you. Maybe you are tired of waiting for life to improve before you let yourself breathe. Maybe you have been starving for blessings while standing in the middle of a life that is already trying to love you. I'm not here to be a guru or a healer. I'm just a simple lady with a simple message. Stop starving for blessings and start living like you're already loved. That may sound simple. It is simple. And it changes something very deep. So let me ask you a quiet question and let it sit in your heart for a moment. If today you were already blessed, would you breathe differently? Would your shoulders soften? Would your jaw let go? Would you stop staring at life as if it were always withholding something from you? Would you walk through the day with a little more trust, a little more ease, a little more willingness to receive? You see, most people think peace comes after the outer world improves, but that is so often backwards. Inner climate comes first. Outer life begins to respond afterward. You do not wait for life to get kinder before you allow yourself one gentle breath. You choose one gentle breath and then another. And little by little, the nervous system begins to believe that life may be safer than fear has been telling you. So let us place a little foundation right here, softly, slowly, without strain. I am safe. I am guided. I am already blessed. Again, I am safe. I am guided. I am already blessed. One more time, and let your body hear it too. I am safe. I am guided. I am already blessed. Now, a lot of people hear the phrase, act as if, and get nervous. They think it means pretending, performing, fooling themselves, putting on some shiny little costume while the real pain still sits underneath. No, sweetheart, that is not what I mean at all. Act as if is not acting for other people. It is practicing a new agreement with yourself. It is not a lie. It is a direction. It is not denial. It is participation. If you wait until you feel perfectly confident before you behave like someone who is loved, supported, peaceful, and worthy, you may wait a very long time. The mind learns by experience. The body learns by repetition. Identity is built in small daily signals. You do not wait until your teeth are clean before you brush them. You brush them so they become clean. That is such a simple little thing, but it tells the whole story. You do not wait for complete belief before you begin. You begin, and belief slowly grows around the new action. So I want to ask you another question, and let this one go a little deeper. Are you waiting for permission to feel joy? Are you waiting for enough money, enough praise, enough certainty, enough love from other people before you let yourself feel supported by life? Because if so, you are living as the victim of someday, and healing does not happen in someday. It happens in the very ordinary moment when you say, I may not have mastered this yet, but I can start showing my mind another way to live. A small habit can become a new identity. A softer tone can become a safer life. A steadier breath can become a different future. Tiny, faithful acts change the way the soul expects to be treated. That is all act as if is. It is choosing one new gesture, one new sentence, one new posture that says, I am no longer rehearsing only fear. And this brings us to the great difference between chasing and embodying. So many people are chasing blessings, chasing peace, chasing love, chasing abundance, chasing worth, chasing security. And while they chase, the whole body is saying, I do not have it, I do not have it, I do not have it. That is the sad little secret of chasing. It keeps teaching the subconscious the posture of lack. The more frantic the pursuit, the louder the signal. Something is missing. Something is missing. Something is missing. And when you live in that posture long enough, you begin making frightened decisions. You settle, you overreach, you panic, you grip too tightly. You say yes when your body means no. You say no when life is trying to hand you something good. Lack is not only a condition, often it is a posture. Think of holding sand in your hand. If you squeeze and squeeze and squeeze because you are afraid of losing it, the sand slips through your fingers all the more quickly. But if your palm is open, relaxed, present, the sand can rest there. So let me ask you something you may not have asked yourself honestly enough yet. What are you still trying to prove in order to feel worthy? What do you think you must finally achieve, fix, or force before you can say, I am enough now? Many people are not really chasing the blessing itself. They are chasing relief from an old identity wound. But the feeling of lack is not the deepest truth of who you are. It is a habit, a repeated inner arrangement, and habits can be retrained. Lack is a posture. Blessing is a posture. One tightens, one softens. One says, I must get. The other says, I am willing to receive. One begs life to prove something. The other begins to live from a quieter knowing. I am already loved by life, and I can act from that truth now. That changes how you speak. That changes how you choose. That changes what you can finally hold without fear. So, what does the posture of someone already blessed actually look like? Not fancy, not dramatic, not arrogant. Very simple things, really. The voice softens, the breath deepens, the shoulders stop trying to hold up the whole universe, the face relaxes, the body stops walking through the day as if it is constantly bracing for bad news. The body is often the first doorway into a new belief. That is why I want you to try this with me now. Not as a performance, not as a trick, but as an experiment in truth. Let your shoulders drop, let your jaw loosen, put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and then another, and then one more. Stay there for a moment, feel the warmth of your own hand. If you were truly loved, would you still be holding yourself so tightly? If you were truly guided, would you still be pushing with such panic? If you were already blessed, would you really need to rush this much, prove this much, fear this much? Sometimes the body knows before the mind catches up. When the body softens, the mind begins to say, "Oh, perhaps we are safer than I thought." When the breath slows, the nervous system begins to trust a little more. When the heart is touched with kindness instead of pressure, the old belief loses some of its force. A softened body is often a mind learning a new truth. This is why act as if begins in such ordinary places. How you stand in the kitchen, how you answer the phone, how you walk into a room, how you talk to yourself after making a mistake, how you let your body know we do not have to live in attack mode all day. And once that begins, something beautiful happens. You do not become fake, you become aligned. You stop waiting for blessings to arrive before you allow your life to feel a little more blessed. And that, my dear, is where peace, joy, and all the rest can finally begin to find you more naturally. What if the very thing you've been asking life for is waiting for you to stop speaking to it in fear? I want you to stay with that for a moment, because this is where act as if becomes very practical, very human, and very close to home. We are not talking about pretending to be rich when you are frightened, or pretending to be healthy when the body is asking for care, or pretending to be loved while feeling lonely inside. No, sweetheart. We are talking about changing the inner relationship first. We are talking about teaching the mind and the body a new way to stand inside life. And one of the first places this matters is money, because money frightens so many people. They think about it with shame, or panic, or anger, or secret dread. And then they wonder why the whole subject feels so heavy. But you do not build a kinder relationship with money by terrorizing yourself about it. You do not create stability by talking to money as though it were an enemy, a punishment, or a moral test of your worth. Prosperity often begins with the feeling that there is enough air in the room for you to breathe. That is a very different energy from panic. I'm not telling you to be careless. I'm not telling you to throw money around and call it abundance. I am saying that inner hysteria is not wisdom. If you are always yanking at the roots, always checking, always tightening, always saying, "What if there isn't enough? What if I lose it? What if it never comes?" Then you are not building trust. You are building alarm. You do not grow a tree by digging it up every day to see whether it is growing. You water it. You tend it. You speak of it as something living. It is the same with your financial life. Speak clearly. Speak honestly. Speak kindly. Look at the numbers without becoming cruel. Make a plan without making yourself small. You can say to money, almost as you would to a friend, "Let us become wiser together. Let us become steadier together. I do not need to panic in order to be responsible." And that changes the whole atmosphere. The body softens, the mind sees better, The choices become less frantic. Abundance does not begin with extravagance. It begins when fear is no longer running the room. And then there is love. And oh, this is where so many dear people get tangled, because they keep asking, who will love me? Who will choose me? Who will finally see me? And I understand that longing. I really do. But if you build your whole emotional life around the question, who out there will finally make me feel lovable, then love becomes a kind of begging. It becomes a performance. It becomes a search for witnesses. And that is such a painful way to live. So I want to offer you another question, a more healing question, one that may feel a little confronting at first and still very freeing. Am I loving me? Not in some abstract, spiritual, lovely little way. I mean in the real ways, in my tone, in my standards, in my boundaries, in the people I let close, in whether I leave myself alone in pain and call it strength, in whether I keep asking for grand love while feeding myself emotional crumbs. That is where act as if becomes alive. If you were already loved, how would you treat yourself today? Would you keep speaking to yourself like that? Would you keep chasing people who give you confusion and call it chemistry? Would you keep begging for what should arrive with some tenderness? You do not attract love by pleading for proof. You become more available to love by becoming someone who knows how to love. That is not cold, it is not proud, it is not shutting the world out. It is opening correctly. A person who is learning to love themselves rests differently, chooses differently, listens to discomfort sooner, leaves harmful situations earlier, and stops handing their worth to passing moods and passing people. They may still want love, of course. They may still cry for it. They may still ache for it. But the ache is no longer the whole story. There is warmth now. There is self-respect now. There is a soft light coming from the inside. Love does not stay where it is only begged for. Love grows where it is also practiced. So perhaps today, instead of asking only, who will love me, you ask, where am I abandoning myself? Where am I starving myself? Where can I bring more warmth? That is how you begin to radiate a different kind of life, not by acting superior, by becoming truer. The heart that knows how to love itself stops chasing and starts shining. And then we come to the body, and this is such a tender place because so many people relate to the body as if it were a problem to manage, a failure to correct, or a battlefield where they are trying to win against themselves. They say they want healing, but they speak to the body with hostility. They say they want peace, but they touch themselves like they are disappointed. They say they want health, but every word they use is war. My dear, the body listens. It truly does. It listens to the way you name it, the way you describe it, the way you look at it, the way you brace against it. And language matters so much here. I remember the wisdom of shifting from the word pain to the word sensation. That may seem like a tiny thing. It is not a tiny thing. It is a door. Because the word you choose changes the feeling that gathers around the experience. Pain can sometimes make the whole system tighten. Sensation can create a little space. Not denial, space. Not pretending, softness. The body hears the names you give it. Your words can become medicine, or they can become poison. So what if, instead of saying, "My body is failing me," you began with, "My body is asking for help"? What if, instead of saying, "This body is against me," you tried, "This body has been carrying me and it is trying to speak"? What if you put your hand on the place that feels tired or tender or inflamed and said, "I send peace here. I send love here. Thank you for carrying me"? You may not believe that one fully at first. That is all right. Say it anyway, gently. Let the body hear a voice that is not attacking it for one moment. Let the nervous system feel what cooperation is like. Healing often begins the moment you stop treating your body as an enemy camp. The body does not always need more force. Sometimes it needs more listening, more rest, more naming that does not terrify it, more breath, more slowness, more tenderness. So if you want to act as if in the realm of health, do not start by pretending you feel amazing when you do not. Start by behaving like someone who is already in a loving partnership with their body. Drink the water, rest when you can, move gently, call the body by kinder names. Choose language that opens rather than hardens. A body spoken to with love remembers more easily how to heal. So here are your 3 little living places to practice this. With money, stop panicking long enough to breathe and become respectful. With love, stop begging long enough to become warmer toward yourself. With the body, stop fighting long enough to become a true companion. And notice how all 3 are really about the same thing. You stop relating through fear, and you begin relating through dignity. That is the posture of someone already blessed, not someone who has every outer answer, someone who is no longer talking to life as though they are unwanted by it. Money becomes less frightening. Love becomes less desperate. Health becomes less like a war. And the beautiful thing is, when the inner relationship changes, the outer choices slowly begin to follow. You spend differently. You choose differently. You speak differently. You recover differently. What you embody quietly becomes the life you can finally hold. So take a breath with me now. Put your hand on your heart if you like, and say softly, "I choose calm with money. I choose love with myself. I choose peace with my body." Again, I choose calm with money. I choose love with myself. I choose peace with my body. One more time, and let your whole being hear it. I choose calm with money. I choose love with myself. I choose peace with my body. Stay there for a moment. Let that be enough. And when you're ready, we can go on, because there is still more to open, more to soften, and more good for you to learn how to receive. And this is where it becomes wonderfully practical, because a new way of living is not built only in big spiritual moments. It is built in the next 24 hours, then the next 24, then the next. A changed life is often nothing more than a changed day repeated with love. People sometimes imagine act as if as something vague, airy, almost mystical. But no, sweetheart, it has feet, it has breath, it has timing, it has a morning, it has a hard moment in the afternoon, it has an evening where you sit down and tell the truth about how you lived. That is where the new identity begins to settle into the nervous system, not in theory, but in rhythm. And rhythm is so healing. Rhythm tells the frightened mind, we know how to begin. We know how to return. We know how to end the day without abandoning ourselves. That is why I want to give you a very gentle little 24-hour practice, not as a punishment, not as homework, more like a new dance your body and mind can begin learning together. So the first piece is the morning, just the first 2 minutes after you wake up, not the whole day, not the whole year, just the first 2 minutes, before the phone, before the messages, before the old story has had a chance to sit up in bed beside you. I want you to ask yourself one simple question. If today I were the luckiest person in the world, how would I get out of this bed? I love that question because it is playful and revealing at the same time. You do not have to answer it in a grand way. You do not need violins and fireworks. You just notice. Would you breathe differently? Would you stand up more gently? Would you soften the face instead of beginning the day in attack mode? Would your eyes look around the room differently? Would your body move with a little more trust? The morning is not only where you start the day, it is where you teach your body what kind of world it believes it is waking into. So if you say, if I were already blessed, I would rise with a little more steadiness, then do that. If you say, I would walk less like I'm late to my own life, then do that. If you say, I would place my feet on the floor and feel grateful instead of already burdened, then do that. This is not acting for anyone else. It is you quietly showing your subconscious a new script. The old one may say, another hard day. The new one may say, let's see what good can happen today. The old one may tighten, the new one softens. The old one rushes to fear. The new one says, not so fast, darling. We begin here. I want you to let your shoulders drop as you rise. Let your jaw relax. Put a hand on your heart for just a breath, and let the body feel the tone of the new day. You do not need a perfect life to start the morning beautifully. You need one conscious moment. Then comes the second part, and this is the emotional anchoring. This is so important because life will throw things, won't it? A message, a delay, a tone of voice, a bill, a memory. A traffic jam, a child crying, a body feeling tender, a person not answering the way you hoped. Life will throw something, as we say, and the mind loves to use those moments as proof that the whole day has collapsed. But the truth is, the day is not lost in that moment. The practice is revealed in that moment. That is why I want you to choose one feeling for the day, not 10, not 20, just one quality that you are willing to keep returning to. Maybe it is ease, maybe it is steadiness, maybe it is peace, maybe it is trust, maybe it is calm, strength. Pick one. Then, when life tosses something into the room and the old self wants to flare up and say, "See, I knew it. It's all going wrong," you quietly come back to your little line. "Oh, this is the moment I practice." I love that sentence because it changes the whole emotional meaning of the challenge. It does not say, "This shouldn't be happening." It does not say, "I failed because I got triggered." It says, "Ah, here we are." This is exactly where the new way is learned. Miracles do not require perfect days. Miracles require a person who does not leave themselves when the day gets messy. That is the great secret. Not perfection, not control, loyalty. You stay, you breathe, you come back to the chosen feeling. If your word was peace, then you say, "Oh, this is the moment I practice peace." If your word was ease, then, "Oh, this is the moment I soften and remember ease." If your word was trust, then, "Oh, this is the moment I stop grabbing and return to trust." And yes, you may have to do it many times. That's all right. The mind learns through repeated returns. The body learns through repeated safety. The soul learns through repeated kindness. Every time you come back, instead of collapsing, you are teaching yourself that you are someone who stays. I think this is one of the most loving redefinitions of spiritual practice there is. Practice is not what you do when the candles are lit and the room is quiet and everyone is behaving. Practice is what you do when the day turns human, when the old pattern rises, when the irritation comes, when the fear knocks, when the body feels tired. That is where the real teaching goes in. I have always felt that people are often far more beautiful in their return than in their perfection. Anyone can feel spiritual for 10 minutes when everything is still. But to stop, breathe, place your hand on your heart, and say, "This is the moment I practice in the middle of a hard, ordinary day," that is real inner work. That is real rewiring. That is how the nervous system begins to trust you, because it sees that you do not only choose yourself when it is easy. You choose yourself in the wobble, in the interruption, in the disappointment, in the emotional weather, and that changes something very deep. You stop being someone who disappears the moment life becomes inconvenient. You become someone who returns. A peaceful life is not built by never getting disturbed. It is built by knowing how to come home after you are. And then we come to the evening, And this is where so much quiet healing can happen. I want only 3 minutes from you, not an hour, not a long analysis, 3 minutes. Sit down somewhere softly if you can. Let the day come to a stop inside you. And then look back, not to criticize, not to grade yourself, but to notice 3 moments when you embodied the blessed self, even a little. Maybe you rose from bed differently. Maybe you softened instead of snapping. Maybe you accepted help. Maybe you paused before reacting. Maybe you said no to something that would have drained you. Maybe you spoke kindly to your body. Maybe you returned to your affirmation when the old panic came up. These are not small things. They are exactly how a new self is built. What you acknowledge grows stronger. What you ignore stays weak and unnoticed. So write down those 3 moments, even if they seem ordinary, especially if they seem ordinary, because the soul is rebuilt in ordinary places. Then I want you to thank the little miracles, not only the giant ones you are still waiting for, the little ones, the parking space, the kind glance, the idea that came at the right time, the fact that you remembered to breathe, the fact that you did not abandon yourself in one old familiar way, the body settling for a moment, the little burst of courage, the apology you finally made, the quiet you finally allowed. Miracles often come in humble clothes. If you only wait for the dramatic blessing, you will miss the life that is already trying to smile at you in smaller ways. And the more you notice those little miracles, the more your mind becomes trained to see support instead of only threat. This is not naive. It is intelligent attention, because what you repeatedly notice grows in significance. What you bless grows in presence. What you thank life for, you become more available to receive again. Attention is one of the most creative forces in your life. So the evening review is not just a recap. It is a way of telling your subconscious, this matters. This is who we are becoming. These are the moments I want to grow. You might end those 3 minutes with a hand on your heart and a very simple whisper. Thank you for staying with me today. And if the day was messy, if you forgot, if you spiraled, if you complained, if you were not the blessed self nearly as much as you hoped, then tell the truth kindly. All right, sweetheart, we wandered today, we forgot, we tightened, and we begin again tomorrow. That matters too, so much. The point is not to create a little spiritual report card. The point is to become a safe witness to your own life, to notice the moments of alignment, to notice the miracles, to notice the returns, because it is in that noticing that identity changes. A person who keeps seeing themselves as someone who fails will live accordingly. A person who starts noticing, oh, I am becoming someone who returns, someone who softens, someone who stays, someone who can live from blessing, begins to live differently. Identity grows where attention rests, and that is why I love this little quote so much. Don't wait for life to smile. Smile until life has to change. Not a fake smile, not a performative one. I mean the inner smile, the one that says, I will not make fear the author of this day. I will not insist that blessing prove itself before I practice it. I will not postpone my relationship with grace. There is such power in that, not force, power. The power of choosing your posture before the outer world gets its say. The power of returning when life throws something. The power of honoring the tiny miracles instead of stepping over them because they are not dramatic enough. A whole life can change in that way, quietly, firmly, sweetly, morning by morning, moment by moment, evening by evening. So let this be your little 24-hour dance now. Rise as the one who is already guided. Return to your chosen feeling when the world gets noisy. End the day by noticing where blessing already touched you. That is enough, more than enough. You do not need one great breakthrough. You need a day you do not abandon, then another, then another. And as you keep going, the mind begins to believe the new story. The body begins to relax into it, and life itself begins to reflect something softer, truer, and much more beautiful back to you. And so, my darling, if you forget tomorrow morning, begin again at noon. If you forget at noon, begin again at 3. If you forget all day, then tonight place your hand on your heart and begin again before sleep. The blessed life is not built by never losing your way. It is built by always being willing to return. I've learned something very simple over the years, and I think it may help you a great deal. Whenever you begin to change, something in you will object. It will say, this feels fake. It will say, you're lying to yourself. It will say, nothing is happening. And if you do not understand what that voice is, you may think the whole healing path is wrong for you. But sweetheart, that voice is not the truth of your being. It is just the old chatter. It is the mind repeating what is familiar, because what is familiar feels safer than what is new. You do not have to sit down and argue with every frightened thought, as though it were some great philosopher. You do not need to win every argument in your mind. You only need to choose the direction you are going. That changes everything. The old chatter says, this is silly. Fine, let it chatter. The old chatter says, it doesn't feel true. Fine, let it talk. The old chatter says, you'll never change. Fine, let it have its little tantrum. You do not have to wrestle it to the floor. You simply come back to your breath, back to your body, back to one gentle sentence that points you where you want to go. That is a much more powerful way of living. You see, a lot of people waste enormous energy trying to defeat their own minds, and that only makes the whole process feel heavier than it needs to be. The mind says, you're not doing it right, and then they begin debating. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, no, I'm not. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe affirmations don't work for me. Maybe I'm too damaged. Maybe I started too late. And while all this noise is going on, the body gets tighter and tighter, and the nervous system goes right back into the old pattern. But healing is often much simpler than that. When the old noise rises, do less, not more. Breathe. Unclench your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Put your hand on your heart. Say one sentence, just one. I approve of myself. Again, I approve of myself. One more time. I approve of myself. Notice what that does. The old chatter may still be muttering in the background, but you have stopped giving it the microphone. Then perhaps you add another little sentence. I trust life. Again, I trust life. And once more, I trust life. Then maybe, when the body is ready, I allow good to come. Again, I allow good to come. One more time, softer now. I allow good to come. These are not magic tricks. They are directions. They are the way you teach the mind and body where you are going without getting lost in a courtroom drama with every old thought. You are not trying to defeat the old mind. You are teaching yourself a new rhythm. And sometimes the most revealing, beautiful place to practice that new rhythm is right in front of the mirror. Mirror work is so powerful because it removes so many of the places we hide. In your head, you can say all sorts of lovely things in a vague way and not really feel them. But when you stand still, look directly into your own eyes and say one simple loving sentence, you will know immediately where you really are. The truth comes up very quickly there. If you feel awkward, if you feel embarrassed, if your throat tightens, if your eyes want to dart away, if some part of you wants to laugh or leave the room, that is not bad news. That is the place asking for your presence. The mirror does not make you unworthy. It reveals the relationship you have been having with yourself. And that is precious information, not so you can criticize it, so you can begin to heal it. So here is what I would love for you to do. Stand in front of the mirror, not to inspect your hair or your face or all the little things the critical mind likes to point out. Look into your eyes. That's where the meeting is. And then say your name. Use your own name. That matters. Then say something very simple, something true enough that you can stay with it. I love you, or I'm here with you, or I'm not leaving you. You do not need poetry. You need presence. And if it feels tender, if it feels strange, if tears come, let that happen. The inner child does not need you to be perfect there. It needs you to stay. This is why one of my favorite mirror questions is so gentle and so deep. What can I do for you today to make you happy? Think about that. Most people do not ask themselves that. They ask, what do I have to get done? How do I keep everyone else satisfied? What am I doing wrong? But in the mirror, when you ask that little question, the whole inner atmosphere begins to change. You are no longer treating yourself as a project, a problem, or a machine. You are relating to yourself. You are becoming available. And perhaps the answer is very small. Maybe the answer is, please slow down. Maybe it is, Please eat before you get shaky. Maybe it is, please don't say yes to that thing you don't want. Maybe it is, please let me rest. Maybe it is simply, please tell me you love me again. The child within you does not need your perfection. It needs your presence. That is why mirror work is so healing. It is not about vanity. It is about ending the habit of disappearing from yourself. It is about becoming someone you can meet honestly. The old chatter may say, "This is ridiculous." All right, let it say that. Stay with the mirror anyway. Stay long enough for something real to soften. Stay long enough for your nervous system to learn that being seen by yourself is not a threat. And then, once you have begun meeting yourself in that way, there is another beautiful practice that can help loosen the weight of the past, what I think of as wrapping and releasing. You know, so many people are trying to receive new life with hands full of old history. They are carrying scenes, hurts, identities, disappointments, memories, versions of themselves that are long past, and then they wonder why they feel crowded inside. You cannot drive safely while staring only into the rear view mirror. You glance there, yes. You learn from what is behind you, yes. But if you keep your eyes locked there, you miss the road that is actually carrying you forward. The past is meant to inform you, not imprison you. So I love this practice of gently wrapping the past in pink love and releasing it, not because the past never mattered, not because we are pretending it did not happen, but because your hands deserve to be free again. Your heart deserves some room. Your present moment deserves your attention. So, let us do a little of that now. Close your eyes if you like. Take a breath. Let it go. Bring to mind something from the past that still feels heavy, not the biggest thing in your whole life. If that feels too much today, just one thing that still clings. See it there. Don't dramatize it. Don't run from it. Just notice it. Now imagine taking that old pain, that old regret, that old role, that old sentence about yourself, and wrapping it very gently in soft, pink love. Not to make it pretty, not to make it right, simply to stop handling it with violence. Wrap it, hold it for a moment, breathe. Then let yourself release it. You may see it float away, sink into the earth, dissolve into light, drift down a river, or simply be placed outside the room of your consciousness. However it comes is fine. The point is not the image. The point is the permission. Letting go is not losing something valuable. Letting go is freeing your hands to receive something new. This is what people often forget. They cling to old pain as if letting go means disrespecting what was real. No, letting go simply means you no longer wish to make your body the storage unit for yesterday's sorrows. Your energy does not have to stay trapped there forever. Your heart can learn new weather, and you may need to do this more than once. That is all right. Healing is often repetitive in the most loving way. The old thing returns, and you wrap it again. The old memory rises, and you release it again. The old identity whispers, and you answer it again. You do not fail because something old resurfaces. You simply practice again. Repetition with tenderness is how the nervous system learns safety. So when resistance appears, remember, you do not have to fight the mind. You do not have to hate the old patterns. You do not have to push the past off a cliff. You can breathe. You can approve of yourself. You can trust life. You can allow good to come. You can meet your own eyes in the mirror and stay. You can wrap the past in love and release it, one layer at a time. That is enough, more than enough for today. So take one more deep breath with me. Let the shoulders soften. Let the body know it is safe enough right now to unclench a little. Put your hand on your heart and say quietly, I approve of myself. Again, I approve of myself. Once more, I approve of myself. Then, I trust life. Again, I trust life. One more time, I trust life. And finally, I allow good to come. Again, I allow good to come. One more time, very softly now, I allow good to come. That is enough for now. Stay with yourself. Be gentle. You are doing better than you think. Imagine, just for a moment, that your whole life does not change because of one giant miracle, but because of one small decision you stop betraying. That is how it often happens, sweetheart. Not with fireworks, not with some dramatic trumpet in the sky, just a quiet moment, a real moment, a moment where something inside you says, no, not the old way, not this time. And that is why I love this next part so much, because there comes a point in healing when you cannot stay only in understanding. You cannot stay only in insight. You cannot stay only in longing. At some point, you must choose, gently, yes, but clearly. There are moments when healing stops being a lovely idea and becomes a decision. And that decision may look very small on the outside, a different thought, a softer tone, a steadier breath, a more honest yes, a cleaner no. But small does not mean weak. A decision repeated with love becomes a destiny. That is how new lives are made. Not all at once, but one chosen direction, then another, then another. So let us come into that moment together now, not with pressure, not with force, just with willingness. Take a breath, put your hand on your heart if you like, let the shoulders drop, let the body know this is not another demand. This is an invitation. And say with me, slowly, now we choose. Again, now we choose. One more time, with your whole being listening. Now we choose. Then let the rhythm carry you. We choose to be well. Again, we choose to be well. And again, we choose to be well. Then we choose to be loved. Again, we choose to be loved. One more time, we choose to be loved. And now, let it deepen just a little. We choose to live blessed now. Again, we choose to live blessed now. And once more, We choose to live blessed now. Feel what those words do, not because they solve everything in a second, but because they gather your energy. They stop the drifting. They stop the endless postponing. They stop the frightened little habit of someday. The soul grows stronger when it is given a clear direction, and one small decision, repeated enough times, becomes character. Character becomes atmosphere. Atmosphere becomes life. That is how quietly and powerfully transformation works. And then something beautiful happens. Once you begin living from a more blessed place, you stop imagining that blessing is only for you. You begin to understand that peace is not a private possession. It moves outward. It touches the room. It affects the people around you. Not because you are preaching to them, not because you are trying to fix them, but because your nervous system becomes part of the climate they are standing in. You are the frequency of the room more than you realize. If you are panicked, sharp, and defended, other people feel it. If you are steady, softer, more present, they feel that too. A peaceful person changes the room before they say a word. A frightened person does too. That is why your healing matters. Not because you need to become better than anyone else, not because being blessed means being above anyone. No, it means you do less harm, you bring less chaos, you pass along less pain, you make fewer wounds with your words, your tone, your reactions. You become calmer, and so the house becomes calmer. You soften, and the children soften. You breathe, and the room can breathe. When you become less wounded in your reactions, the world around you receives more mercy. This is such a different idea of blessing than the ego usually has. The ego thinks blessing means having more than others, being envied, being admired, winning some private little contest. But a truly blessed life often looks much quieter than that. It looks like not lashing out. It looks like apologizing sooner. It looks like a gentler tone at dinner. It looks like a body that is no longer always bracing. It looks like a home with less emotional smoke in it. It looks like a person who can walk into a room and make it feel safer just because they have stopped attacking themselves all day long. Blessing is not for superiority. Blessing is for circulation. It moves through you. It blesses you, yes, and then it touches the world around you in all sorts of small ways that no one may even name. That matters. So if you ever think your inner work is selfish, remember this: the more peace you carry, the less pain you spill. The more loved you feel, the less hunger you project. The more grounded you become, the less damage your fear can do in the lives around you. You change, and the room changes. That is real influence. That is holy influence. Now, there is often a moment in every healing journey when we touch the old wound more directly, not to drown in it, not to build a shrine to it, but to finally tell the truth and then hold that truth with love. Maybe the wound sounds like this: I was not chosen, or I was too much, or I was not enough, or no one came for me. These old sentences can live under so many adult behaviors. They can hide under perfectionism, pleasing, overworking, shutdown, avoidance, and all the rest. And when we touch them, we want to do it gently, not with violence, not with analysis that rips us open and leaves us there, just gently. So if one of those old little heart sentences belongs to you, put your hand on your heart now. Let the other hand rest somewhere that feels comforting, your belly, your cheek, your chest. Take a deep breath, let the shoulders soften, and say inwardly, very softly, I know that hurt. Stay there, don't rush. Then bring in the truth that heals. And still I am lovable. Again, and still I am lovable. Or perhaps, and still I am here. Or, and still life has not left me. This is where healing turns. Not when you deny the old pain, when you stop leaving the wounded place alone in the dark. You may notice tears here, or numbness, or resistance. All right, let it be what it is. Breathe. Feel your hand on your heart. Feel the body underneath it. The great restoration is often very simple. The old wound says, I was not enough. Love says, you never had to earn your place here. The old wound says, I was not chosen. Love says, you are still worthy of being cherished. The old wound says, I am not safe. Love says, you are safe now. This is the great softening, the great return, the moment when the nervous system begins, even a little, to stop building its whole identity around what once hurt. And this is where I want to say something very Louise, very true, very simple. In the end, what you carry with you is your capacity to love. That's all, and that is enough. Not your image, not your titles, not who approved of you, not the list of who understood you, not even the list of who wounded you. You carry your capacity to love yourself, to love life, to love through what was hard, to love even after being changed by pain. That is the deepest wealth. So let us not end hard. Let us end the way I always does best, like a hand on the shoulder, like a little blessing at the door. You're doing better than you think, really. You are doing better than you think. If you are here listening, trying, softening, choosing again, then something beautiful is already happening. You are safe now. Breathe that in. You are safe now. And let the body hear it too. You do not have to finish all the healing tonight. You do not have to become radiant in one sitting. You only need to stay with yourself kindly enough that tomorrow you can choose again. And so it is. I am already blessed. I relax and allow life to support me. Again, I am already blessed. I relax and allow life to support me. Carry that softly with you. And next time, I want to talk with you about one very small thing, so small. Most people miss it, and yet it is one of the places where we quietly betray ourselves without even noticing. We'll look at it together, gently, one breath at a time.